Minimalism sounds appealing until you try it with kids. A lot of families start decluttering with really good intentions, but they end up frustrated and giving up. And most of the time, it's not because minimalism doesn't work, it's because they're going about it totally the wrong way. In this video, I'm going to share 5 tips of what not to do when starting minimalism and how you can save time, stress, and money when starting your journey. The first mistake families make is starting with the kids' stuff. Parents often try to declutter their kids' stuff first, and I totally get it. It's usually the thing we're most confronted with when we walk around our own homes. Every time we step on an errant Lego, every time we walk into a kid's room, totally devoid of cleanliness and order, it just seems to touch a nerve that not much else can. And before we know it, we're on a full-on holy war against everything our kids own. The problem is, at least for me, my kids outnumber me and my wife 4-2. And oftentimes trying to get our kids to part ways with their stuff becomes a grueling and costly battle. They think everything is special, and why not? It's not like they see you giving away your stuff so easily. That's why the better approach is to start with your own things. When we start with getting rid of our own things first, not only do we confront some of our own demons we have with getting rid of stuff, but we model that same behavior for our kids. They'll see you make difficult decisions and start to learn from that. It may not get them to turn into Marie Kondo overnight, but at least it'll be a really good starting point for a conversation with them. The simple truth is that kids will copy what they see, and that's why minimalism has to start with you and me, with the parents. Number 2. Trying to declutter everything at once. One of the biggest mistakes when starting minimalism and trying to cut down on possessions and spending is trying to do it all at once, all at the same time. Please don't bite off more than you can chew. When I tried to do this, I felt like my 9-year-old staring at his overly messy room, just not even knowing where to start, and ultimately falling into complete despair. And why is that? It's because we're looking at the task in its totality. We're not looking at different segments or pieces that we can easily chunk off and handle. Because let's be honest, it's too big and scary to take on all at once. And oftentimes we can just get lost trying to figure out where to start. What this is gonna do is result in paralysis by analysis and ultimately burnout before you even really get started. Instead, start with small spaces first. A bookshelf, a utility closet, a small section of the garage, heck, even a junk drawer. Don't feel like you need to do it all at once. One step at a time, and before you know it, you'll have that clean, organized house you always wanted. Number 3, getting rid of things without systems. The honest truth is that decluttering alone doesn't solve a messy home. What it does do is create a vacuum for more clutter to move in its place. Without a proper system in place and a plan for your different spaces, it's just clutter out, clutter in. Here's an example. You decided that you were going to start with your garage as the first place you wanted to declutter. That's great, but without proper plans and systems in place for what you're going to do with the space after you get rid of all that stuff, slowly but surely, clutter is just going to fill in those same spaces that you just finished cleaning out. What you need to do instead is have a system in place or plan in place of how you and your family wants that space to operate. How are you going to store things? Where are you going to store things? What are you not going to put in those spaces? For me and my family, almost everything in our garage has a category that it generally belongs to. This helps us to know where things can be found and where things need to be put away. It's not always perfect, but it definitely works. And more importantly, it keeps our garage functional. Number 4, expecting your kids to care about your minimalism. Here's the harsh truth. Kids generally don't care about minimalism. Most of the time, they could care less that mom and dad are trying to simplify things around the house. Sure, like I mentioned before, they'll pick up a few habits from you here and there, but ultimately, kids don't really need minimalism. What they ultimately need is boundaries. What does that even mean? For us, it means we aren't constantly trying to come up with new and inventive ways to store stuff in our kids' rooms, closets, or underneath their beds. It also means no more impulse purchases when we're out with the kids or just hanging out. Yes, even if it's their own money. Instead, we ask them to think about it for a few days, to go home and look up reviews on the item and to think about where they're going to put it and how they're going to use it. Sometimes this creates tension with the kids because they just don't like to wait. But what we found is that after a short waiting period, ultimately that thing that they wanted so badly in the moment becomes less and less important over time. And after a few days of waiting, if that thing is still really heavy on their minds and they want to go back and purchase it, we usually allow it. At least at this point, they've gone through the process that removes impulse from the equation. it's up to you and your family what works best for you. But for us, it's routines about how things get put away, clear storage, and realistic limits on purchases. Remember, kids don't necessarily need minimalism, they just need boundaries. Number 5, and this is perhaps the biggest minimalism mistake of all for people who are just starting out on this journey, thinking that minimalism is owning next to nothing. See, a lot of families that want to start minimalism think that it needs to be this extreme simplicity, a home that's completely devoid of things, countertops that are 100% pristine and clean all of the time, kids' rooms that consist of a bed, a dresser, and nothing else. But let's get back to reality. The simple truth is, with multiple kids, we're never gonna have that clean model home look, at least not for more than an hour. And that's okay. We're not striving for perfection here. The real goal of minimalism for us with kids is just to reduce friction around the house, generally speaking. We want our home to just feel easier to live in for everyone. You want your home to be a place that you look forward to coming home to, not a place that creates more stress and friction. Real minimalism is spending less time, money, and energy on the things that you don't need in life, and instead reserving that for things that matter the most to you. And remember, minimalism with kids isn't about creating the picture-perfect home. It's about creating a home that's easier for you and your family to live in and enjoy. Hey, thanks so much again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you want to know more about how minimalism is costing more than you think, go ahead and click this video right here. I think it'll really help you out. And as always, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what sort of minimalism successes or mistakes have you made along your journey. And as always, I'll see you guys again in the next one. Bye.